Today, ladies and gentlemen, we explore the skills of the swashbuckler. Yes indeed, ladies and gentlemen, today we take a look at the many skills of the swashbuckler. What skills do they possess? Well, quick with the blade, sharp with the tongue, and even faster with the blouse. But beyond this, the swashbuckler has many abilities within their repertoire. And I'm going to go ahead and abandon that accent now. We're going to just go ahead and go right on into this and cover the swashbuckler's many skills. To begin with, acrobatics. The big use for this is going to be moving through a threatened square without provoking an attack of opportunity. Given that this runs off of our dexterity score, which is going to be one of our best scores, if not the best, and that the swashbuckler is wearing light armor, this will be a very useful skill, especially considering that, again, we're wearing light armor and depending on our dexterity to kind of see us through. Negating an opponent's ability to make attacks of opportunity outright means, well, you run less risk of taking damage. Then we have the bluff skill. Feinting works off of bluff, and we have a good charisma score. Again, it's one of our two best scores, so no reason why we shouldn't invest in this. Not only that, but swashbucklers, and in particular this build, makes for some pretty solid face characters, especially if you're going to be injecting a little bit of personality into your performance. Whether you're going with the classic suave, debonair, gentlemanly swashbuckler, or if you're going with the more Shatnerian experience. Don't tell me how to do the line. It sickens me. But yes, bluff. Lots of fun to play with and definitely an opportunity for you to inject personality into the character. And then after that skill we have climb. Its usefulness is going to be depending on the campaign, and you have magic options to kind of help circumnavigate those obstacles that will require climb. But again, you're wearing light armor, so your penalties are going to be minimal to non-existent, and having the occasional point or two probably won't hurt things all that much. Especially since for this specific build, we're looking at having at least a 13 if we can manage it into strength, so we're not going to be hurting too terribly much here. But we come to craft, and this is a whole slew of skills that you can skip. Your craft is stabbing things and looking dashing in the process. You don't need to make things, that's for other people to do. You're there to make with the stabbing, not with the crafting. And then we also have diplomacy. Again, you're a good face. We have charisma to be at least a solid face character, and thankfully charisma and diplomacy don't necessarily require the most amount of brains. You just have to be charming enough to get away with whatever stupid thing flies out of your mouths. People will assume naturally it's a joke if you come off likably enough. But then after that, if things go south for you and you wind up in a jail cell or in cuffs, you have escape artist. With your dexterity, you can use this to escape grapples and magical effects that lock you in, like the tangling vine spells, anything that might have you tied up, for example, or manacles, as was already mentioned. So definitely something worthwhile to consider. Although your mileage may vary, this one's still probably going to be a safe bet to at least throw a point in, if not focus on a little bit. But also we have another good option coming in from the intimidate skill. Sometimes a stab with your words and a sharp look is all you need, and the opponent will back down because the poor curs lack the courage to stand before you. But after that we have knowledge, and while knowledge runs off of your intelligence, which we're not putting a whole lot into, knowledge local can still be useful. Local is good for humanoids and organizations, and nobility can be hit or miss with its usefulness depending on the campaign and on your DMs. For myself, I know I tend to make use of it a little bit, especially in campaigns that are focused with any kind of interaction with government, nobility, things like that. So it can be worthwhile. I'd say for that one, at least check with your DM and see how much they might lean into that. But then we also have perception, and this is the most used skill in the game. You're gonna want to put points into this, even if, you know, you have 2 or 3 other people in the party who have got it topped out put points into it at least every other level, if nothing else, because it is that useful. Having everybody capable of spotting things is massively useful. But we go on from there for the perform skills. You're not a bard, but if you're playing a Muse-touched Asmar, you gain a bonus, and this build has a good charisma, so go singing with it. From a mechanical standpoint, you probably want to skip this and save your skill points for some of the many other useful skills, but from a role-playing standpoint and putting character into the character, this just fits all too well. Again, especially with the fact that Muse-touched Asmar gain a bonus to this right off the bat, and they're also known to be incredible performers, incredibly charming, beautiful, and likable, all of those things that fit with the dashing, handsome, beautiful, and gorgeous swashbuckler. But we also have profession. Profession is great for flavor and again personality, but this is pretty safe to skip overall. This is what you do in the downtime between adventures, but you're a swashbuckler. Adventuring is all you do. Your downtime is best spent with pleasurable company and enjoying fine drink all the way around. But after that, we have a more moderately useful skill in ride. Go for maybe a point into this, but you're going to be spending all your time fighting on foot. Or at least you should be. If you're not fighting on foot, something has gone terribly wrong. Or, if you're flying, that's another thing, but that's particulars come in later. After that skill, ride, we have the sense motive skill. You definitely want to know when somebody's hiding something, and if you're playing the role of the party's face, then you really want to have some points into this one, and particularly since wisdom is not our highest, you definitely want to try to invest regularly into this skill, just because it is that useful. Following up, this other skill is good. It's sleight of hand. With a good dexterity, this can be useful with the occasional point. Maybe not something you're putting points into every level, but definitely every now and then. It can be very, very useful. Then we also have the swim skill after that. Again, its usefulness, it kind of depends a little bit. Like the climb skill, having the occasional point into it isn't going to hurt. However, if you're on a seagoing campaign, which is entirely possible if you're picking out a swashbuckler to play, this becomes massively important. Otherwise, just 1 point and then you can probably forget about it. Again, unless aquatic adventures come up regularly. But that's it for all the skills for the swashbuckler. There's not really a whole lot other to cover here, so let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Did I hit the mark, or have I just completely botched it and missed everything? Or are there some skills that you would emphasize a little bit more? Certainly, depending on context and campaign setting, any of these skills can fluctuate in their usefulness, except for perception. Perception is always useful. So, with that said, go on down into the comments below, let me know your thoughts, and if you haven't already, go on down there and hit that subscribe button. Become a regular member here at the Gamers Den, and join us every Saturday and Sunday when I upload more content here. But with all that said, thank you so very much for your time, and you have yourselves a good night.